The average member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has already been married by age 25 and has most likely also served a mission. There are so many young adults in our church that struggle with pressures of expectations of what we feel like we should be living up to. These aren't pressures because of our religion or because of being a Mormon or our church or anything. It's because of the members and because of tradition. It's based off of how things have always been done and how they're expected to continue to go. These pressures have to do with going on missions. A lot of people struggle with feeling like they have to go on a mission just because they've turned 18 or 19 for girls. And that's not the case. It is an option at that point, and you are available to serve at that point, but that's not required. Marriage is also another thing that a lot of young adults in our church feel pressured to do right away. Either just because they're in their early 20s or starting college or return missionary, they feel like they have to get married right away because that's the way it's always been. Lastly, children. Raising a family. I'm sure everybody wants to have a family and raise kids, but that's another thing that a lot of young adults in our church feel a lot of pressure and these great expectations to make happen right away. There we go. So missionary work. So the available age for young males is, sorry guys. The available missionary age for young males is 18. For women, it's 19. That does not mean that you have to go on your mission at that age. I have known so many missionaries who have gone on their missions just because they turned 18 or 19 and they weren't ready. They went because they felt that pressure and they felt like they had to go, or their parents bribed them, or their girlfriend or boyfriend said that they wouldn't go unless they wouldn't marry them unless they went on a mission. These aren't good reasons to go on a mission. You should go because we feel ready and because we want to. And I've also known a lot of missionaries who don't go on missions and who wait until they feel ready. But then at that point they're judged and they're questioned and people wonder, why aren't you serving your mission? Why aren't you leaving? What did you do wrong? Are you not worthy? And it's just kind of this vicious cycle of you can't win, and that's not fair because it has nothing to do with anybody else other than that person. We shouldn't be judging or questioning anybody else and their decisions that they make for their lives. This has nothing to do with us. That is a decision between that individual and between God. Do not be the person that judges and questions and wonders why somebody else isn't serving a mission or doing something with their lives. I've spoken to some students who agree with me on this. One student that I spoke with, she said that after she got back from serving her mission, that people started asking her younger sister when she was going to go on her mission. Expecting her to leave as soon as she possibly could. And she said, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. And I felt that same way after my sister got back from her mission. People started asking me, when are you going to leave? When are you going to turn your papers in? Your sister did it, so aren't you going to do it? I was a junior in high school. I hadn't even thought about that yet. And so it's kind of ridiculous that we have these expectations and just this frame of mind that we automatically expect people to fall into. I also have another friend who graduated high school at 18, and he had all of these friends that were going on missions. They were serving, or they were turning in their papers, or they were, getting ready to go, had their calls, and they were asking him why he wasn't doing the same thing. Why aren't you leaving? Why aren't you turning in your papers? Why aren't you, going on a mission? You need to do this, otherwise people are going to think that something's wrong with you. And he, felt a lot of pressure from that, but he thought about it and he thought, I'm not ready to go yet. I want to go when I know that I can do it to the best of my ability. That is the frame of mind that we need to be in. So when he turned 20, he decided to turn in his papers and he left on his mission. And he felt so prepared. He felt so ready. As ready as you can feel for a mission. But he felt like he was in the right frame of mind to actually make it happen. And that's how all of our missionaries should be feeling. They shouldn't feel pressure. They shouldn't feel stress. They shouldn't feel like they're doing it just because someone told them to or just because that's what everybody else has done. I think males especially feel this pressure because it is a priesthood duty, and I'm not arguing against that. I definitely agree with that, and that's church doctrine, that ready, capable, willing, able young men should serve a mission. I'm not going to argue against that, but I don't think that they should feel like they have to go just because they're 18. That's not a requirement. Nowhere does it say that you have to serve just because you've turned that age. So we need to get those stigmas out of our mind and start realizing that people are going to do things in their own time and based off of what's best for them. So please stop pressuring others to do things just because that's what's been done or because that's what we think needs to be done. This is a decision that's between God and that individual. If somebody decides not to go on a mission, that has nothing to do with us. So why do we care so much? Why do we think about it so much? This is about them and God and between their ecclesiastical leaders. It's not our place to judge. After my sister got back from her mission, she said something to me that really impacted me. She said, "You're judged if you go, you're judged if you don't. You can't win with these people. That's why it has to be about what you want and what God wants, and nothing else." I loved that. As I was deciding last year whether or not I should serve a mission, I thought about that, and I realized how true it was, that everybody is going to have their own opinions and thoughts about you and your decisions in your life, no matter what you decide to do. So you can't base it off of what other people think. That's not what it's about. It's about you and what's best for you in your life. It's about what you have discussed with God and yourself and your leaders in the church, possibly, and nothing else. We need to remember that. We need to understand that that's not what it's about. And these decisions aren't going to impact everybody else who's judging you and questioning you. They're going to impact you. So don't think about anybody else. It's about you and your life. Marriage. Marriage is wonderful. And I'm sure we all want to get married someday, and some of us already are married. And that's great. But I don't think that that we should feel like just because we're in our 20s or we're in college or we're returned missionaries or we're Mormons that we have to get married super fast and right away. This is something that I've seen a lot of. Obviously, BYU I do. That's what happens. That's what you think of when you think of Mormons, is they get married fast and young. And there are so many people who have rushed into marriages just because they think that they're ready. They think that they know a person. And I've seen so many people and heard of so many cases that end in divorce because they didn't really know a person as well as they thought they did. And sometimes they have children attached to those previous marriages, and then they have that baggage with them and these different attachments because they weren't ready and they didn't think about it before they got into that frame of mind and before they made that decision. My sister is 23 years old. She just graduated college from BYU. And she's not married. She struggled with that for a long time, thinking that if she didn't meet anybody in college, then that was it, and she lost her chance. She wasn't going to get married. But that's not true. 23 is so young. I mean, you're just barely not a teenager anymore. We shouldn't feel like we have to get married just because everybody else has done it before us. I talk to my friends outside of the church, and they think it's ridiculous that we even think about getting married before we're 30. They don't even think about that. So why are we stressing so much about it? Why are we worrying about other people who aren't married by the time they're 30. I mean, it's still so young. We still have so much time, our lives ahead of us. We shouldn't be thinking about it. We shouldn't be judging. We shouldn't be questioning others because it also doesn't affect you. Why would we worry about anybody else and their decisions in their lives? We have to think about ourselves and what's best for us. I do want to point out that just because you're married does not mean you're crazy. Marriage is wonderful, and if you found your eternal companion, that is fantastic. Take advantage of that. I am so happy for you guys. But there should not be a pressure to do so just because of our religion or just because that's the expectation, just because that's what, has always been done. That's not the frame of mind that we should be in as members of the church. I also want to point out that marriage is eternal in our church for a reason. This is such a huge decision. You cannot rush this. You can't rush other people into this either. I know a lot of people get married because they feel like they have to, or they feel like they're the only one in their friend group that's not married anymore. So they're like, well, he's good enough, may as well. That's not how it should work. You should know for sure. This is an eternal decision. Temple divorces are hard for a reason, because this is your life that you're thinking about. This is an essential decision that you need to think thoroughly through. So please do not be that person that pressures other people into making these decisions faster than they need to. And remember this for yourself as well, how essential this is. Having kids, families, growing that eternal family. I'm sure we all want that, and that's wonderful. And I can't wait to have kids of my own someday. But just because a couple is married for a year or a couple of years doesn't mean they have to have kids right away. This is another huge life decision that we all have to think about. And this impacts people's lives in more ways than I think that we always, than we think about. And so we shouldn't be sitting there wondering why, a couple has been married for 3 years and just has their dog. That's great. That's what I want for the first couple years of my marriage. I mean, if they don't want to have kids right away, that's their personal decision. Why are we worrying about it? Why are we thinking about it? Why are we questioning them? Why are we saying, well, why aren't you having kids yet? You're a Mormon, right? You're not a bad Mormon if you don't have kids in the first couple years of your marriage. That doesn't make sense. There should be no stipulation that judges how good or bad of a member of this church that you are based off of your life decisions that have nothing to do with the gospel. That's none of our business either. The only person who is able to judge us fairly is God. This is another decision that we cannot rush into. Every person needs to make this choice on their own. Same with all the other decisions that I've discussed today. So please remember this. Remember not to judge. Remember not to be that person that is pressuring other people, because we all know what that feels like. Whether or not you've served a mission or you're married or anything like that, I'm sure you felt it at some point that as a Mormon, things get sped along a little bit faster. And you feel like you have to make things happen faster. And because other people are doing it, you feel like, well, that's the way it goes. And that's, the way I've been raised. That's not the case. Remember this. This is also such a huge issue for so many young adults in our church and their self-confidence. So many people have gotten down on themselves because they're not married, or because they didn't serve a mission right away, or because they're not having kids, because that's the expectation. This is a terrible, terrible thing for egos and for just confidence in general and for self-esteem. We need to remember that the people have more sensitivities than I think we realize. We need to not be that person that is pulling those out or pointing those out in their lives. Everybody's aware of where they're at in their lives. Nobody else needs to point it out to them. So don't be that person. Remember to try and be the person who supports and loves everybody with their decisions that they make in their lives. It has nothing to do with you. So why are you worrying about it? Why are we thinking about anybody else's lives? There's a quote by Anonymous that I found. It reads, "Stop judging how far people still have to go and start celebrating how far they've come." Thank you.